Over the years, has anyone ever produced a one-woman show on Maggie Kuhn's life?
There was a television show that was done for PBS. We were just talking about, what, do you remember the name?
Maggie Growers.
Maggie Growers. So if you Google that, it was really a wonderful, lovely piece, wasn't it? It was very well done.
And there is an archive at Temple University in Philadelphia.
And you've got Maggie's books. This was a pretty good book. I don't know if any of you see it, by Roger Sanjak, Great Panthers, which has, I thought, a pretty good assessment of it.
Yes.
I was just going to say the movie, Maggie Girls, the only place you can get it is from, I don't know, the distributors, which is Women Make Movies. So if you just Google that, I just bought it. It's about $85 or $90 if you're a non-profit agency. That you can't get it on Amazon, you can't get it through PBS, you need to go to Women Make Movies.
Thank you.
But it's interesting. I mean, Maggie's life could be a one woman show. Or
Yeah, I think that's it.
great idea.
We'll get Hal Holbrook to do it.
Yes.
I'm afraid my story is kind of prosaic, but Maggie came to Toledo, Ohio about 20 years ago. And I remember her coming out on stage and she was dressed in a beautiful nubby wool suit and her hair was so and a silver cane and giant purple Nikes. And since that day, I've never worn high heels.
That's a great
She loved her purple tennis shoes.
So, any other Maggie stories, comments, thoughts?
No, I never got to meet her, but I love these kind of legacy sessions and memorial services and all because I think they do inspire us to think about what else we could be doing. So what would Maggie do? With the negative slant being put on longevity, that people talk about the tsunami of the old, the scourge of longevity, after we worked so hard to make sure we do have fulfilling older lives. What would Maggie do with that, with those kind of pronouncements?
Well, you know, one of the things that she, the media like to, again, pick up on the age-only part, the aging part of Great Panthers. But she railed against the self-interested old and the selfish old. So she would immediately pick up on the notion that older people contribute, they have an obligation to contribute, it's all part of the intergenerational theme. But the senior power lobby was not something she promoted. Very interesting, because it really was about and one group of society, and she was about the totality and about the intergenerational implications. So I think she would find ways to emphasize that theme to counteract this notion that there's a bunch of old people that are just going to drain the coffers.
In the same way that Fernando, I don't know if you saw the session yesterday on diversity, Fernando made in essence the same point in terms of people of color, you know, the immigration issue, making sure that there's an interest, a commonality. I think Maggie would have clearly, I mean, exactly what Steve says, I think she would have, she never, that's what I was saying earlier, she was the one who had, when you have seniors or however you do it, older people advocating and being part of the mainstream and really caring about other issues rather than only their own, you're ultimately, again, in that analogy to what Fernando said, with a different demographic, people are going to start seeing that, and young people are going to see that it's not about them and us. I mean, that's been fostered ever since that. I remember, I forgot, there was a New Republic article, and the cover was the greedy. That's where I forgot who wrote the article, but that was 40 years ago. The Greedy Geezers. She would have been a really good anecdote to it.
Yeah. I got my start in gerontology in Philadelphia around 1979, and Maggie Kuhn was very much a presence at that time there. And I since have I worked in the field for about 15 years, and then I've been away from it ever since. And I'm just trying to get back to it, kind of with this conference. And I'd like to ask you to talk a little bit about the whole critical gerontology and how that is infusing the discussions, the bigger issues that are being addressed at the conference. I think everybody wants to grasp these concepts and apply them to what they're doing, but it's very difficult to do. So could you just talk about that, Carroll?
Carroll, yeah. And Steve, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Did you plant her? No.
No. Well, Brooke could talk about it too. Well, critical gerontology, as I said at the very outset, the roots are Maggie Kuhn as the original radical gerontologist. And that involves understanding the structural roots, social roots of problems, and going after those at a structural level, which, and that means in terms of the current work, some of the efforts underway by Social Security works with Atlantic Philanthropies support, and some others support, but Atlantic Philanthropies particular strong support, bringing voice to the people. And one of the things that we did at the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, and so that's part of the legacy. I've carried Maggie and ideas that I have gained and insights from her into some of my work there. But we wanted very much to hear the voice of the American people in terms of what they think about the Social Security issue and how we should be really framing it and dealing with it. And so we did one of what I believe was the beginning of framing around the Social Security perspective from the point of view of working people. And we used Celinda Lake and Lake Partners and developed an understanding of how we might pursue a national survey, which then the foundation of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare undertook. But basically, it's understanding. It was going to the focus groups and then going through this process was a mind-blowing experience for me, because I didn't know the American people were so radical. And I couldn't believe that blue-collar workers in their 40s and 50s understood what they understood about Social Security. It would have been my dream that they would understand it the way that they were telling us it really is, which is, this is our money. This is not Congress's money. This is not the Tea Party's money. This is not the president's money. This is our money, and we put it there. And they just need to pay it back. They borrowed it for wars and tax cuts. They understood it, and it was an amazing example of the connection between personal troubles. They also do have the view that they're not going to get it. And NACI, National Academy of Social Insurance, has done wonderful, wonderful work in fostering projects and working with foundations to develop and extend, as has Social Security Works, this basic set of understandings. But and there's some sessions at this meeting that talk about keep the promise, and those were the two words that in the end of our process, that it's a promise that must be kept, and it's a guarantee. It's a guarantee to the American people, and it's our money. It's not their money.